Perfection stops being impressive when it's expected. The moment you're told you have to be the best, the pressure starts to weigh on you. It's not just about doing well, it's about never falling short. Maybe it's your parents who expect straight A's, or your manager who never wants you to make mistakes. Maybe it's the constant push to make it to the right university, to prove that all your hard work is worth something. No matter the situation, expectations can make every step feel like a test, every decision a reflection of whether you're enough. Living up to high expectations isn't always about what other people say. Sometimes it's about what you tell yourself. You set the bar so high that anything less feels like failure. You try to do everything right, to be everything that you're supposed to be, and over time, it can feel like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. Even the things that should feel like accomplishments can feel empty if they're just what everyone expects of you. Many characters throughout media struggle with the weight of living up to high expectations, whether they're from anime or cartoons or live-action shows. Some are trying to meet the standards set by their parents. Others are trying to meet their own impossible standards, believing that if they don't push themselves to be the best, they're failing. And by the end of this video, hopefully I'll have answered one question. At what point does striving to meet expectations become self-destruction? Now, up till this point on this channel, all the characters that I've talked about are from anime. But for this section, I want to talk about someone not in anime. Someone who embodies the weight of living up to high expectations, maybe more than any fictional character that I've ever seen. That someone is Mark Grayson from Invincible. For Mark, every move that he makes is measured against a bar set impossibly high, not just by society, but by the person that he looks up to the most, his father. Growing up under Omni-Man's shadow, Mark never had the luxury of living without comparison. Every heroic act that Omni-Man makes, every display of strength, only feeds into the high expectations that Mark has. And even though at the start of the series no one knew that Mark was Omni-Man's son, he still had high expectations put onto him, because deep down he knew that one day he'd have to live up to his father's glory. Every decision that Mark makes feels like it's being scored against someone who is not only stronger, but flawless in the eyes of the world. And when Omni-Man leaves at the end of Season 1, the stakes escalate. Mark is thrust into the role of Earth's protector, a responsibility that is probably too much for him to handle. After all, he's a teenager, still navigating emotions, relationships, and the awkwardness of growing up. Yet suddenly, he's expected by everyone to act as a global hero. Every crisis, whether an alien invasion, a rampaging villain, or a disaster threatening civilians, falls on his shoulders. And just like in real life, where young people are asked to take on responsibilities that they might not feel ready for, Mark is expected to be perfect, to act without error. The pressure is relentless, and unlike school or sports, the cost of mistakes is catastrophic. Yet society, and even Mark's own mind, demand that he continue flawlessly. What makes Mark's struggle particularly human is how he internalizes this pressure. He doesn't only worry about what others think, he has his own towering expectations. Every villain he defeats, and every city saved, is measured against a personal standard of redemption. The destruction caused by his father, the chaos brought on by conquest or Angstrom Levy, this all weighs on him, filling him with guilt that transforms every heroic act into a chance to prove that he's different, that he's changed, and that he can be better. It is the weight of responsibility paired with the fear of inadequacy, and it permeates every waking moment of his life. Adding to all this pressure is the expectation to balance a normal life with heroism. Mark wants to be the best son, the best friend, the best student, and the best boyfriend, all while saving the world. He juggles relationships and school alongside battles that could destroy cities. It's exhausting, and yet he feels that he must excel in every aspect of his life. The result of this is a constant tension, both in his personal life and his heroic duties. Mark's failure in relationships are inseparable from his failures as a hero because they all stem from the same source: the impossible demand of being perfect. Even in victory, Mark questions why other people rely on him. He wonders if their trust is genuine or simply a matter of circumstance. Do these people truly need him, or is he just Omni-Man's replacement? The combination of external expectations, inherited pressure, and internalized guilt creates a tension that never fully eases. Mark is constantly running from villains, from responsibilities, from the fear of becoming like his father, and from the possibility of letting everyone down. The very things that make him a hero are also the things that isolate him. The more he achieves, the higher the bar becomes, and the more the world demands of him. It's like success is never enough. He can never be perfect in the eyes of the world, and every action is scrutinized. And maybe the hardest part in all this is that the world never gives Mark a break. Every victory is temporary because there's always another crisis around the corner. From fighting his dad, to fighting Angstrom Levy, to fighting the Invincible War, to fighting Conquest, the challenges never quite end. And with each new threat, the expectations rise even higher. The pressure to perform, to be strong, to handle it all without cracking is crushing. For Mark, it's not just about saving the world. It's about proving, over and over again, that he is worthy of trust and admiration. Not to mention that Cecil and the Global Defense Agency only add another layer to this pressure. Cecil knows that Mark is just a teenager, but he and the world see him as more than that. Cecil expects Mark to act like a seasoned hero, to strategize, to respond flawlessly, to maintain composure in situations that most adults would crumble under. In many ways, Mark is caught between two forces: the world demanding perfection, and his own recognition of his inexperience. And every mission comes with the quiet implication that failure isn't part of the job description. When disaster hits, the expectation is not that he'll try, it's that he'll fix it. And if he can't, then the problem isn't the threat, it's him. And for Mark, each fight isn't just about survival or victory, it's about proof. Proof that he deserves the faith that people are forcing onto him. Proof that every last mistake was just a moment, not a pattern. Proof that his father's shadow isn't the only shape that his life is allowed to take. And that is perhaps the most complex layer in all of this. It's the fear that he might become just like his father. Nolan's betrayal still haunts Mark, not just as a father leaving his family, but as the symbol of power leaving the world. Mark still feels guilty with the fact that his dad tried to end the world. Omni-Man's destruction left physical scars on the Earth, but it left the deeper ones in Mark. Every ruined building, every life lost, and every person still grieving, they add to an invisible tally that only Mark seems to keep track of. So, every fight becomes more than survival. It becomes penance. Stopping Angstrom Levy isn't about winning, it's about erasing a fracture of the bloodstain that his father left on the world. Facing conquest isn't about pride, it's about proving that his name doesn't have to be synonymous with fear. He pushes himself harder because the damage tied to his existence can only be repaid through suffering and success. But guilt doesn't measure redemption, it only multiplies the weight of failure. In many ways, Mark's journey is a study in resilience under pressure. He faces impossible expectations from society, and yet, despite repeated failures, despite his own guilt and doubt, he continues to act. He continues to save lives. He continues to prove, first to himself and then to the world, that he is capable of more than anyone expects. It is this persistence that makes his story resonate beyond the comic panels or screens. It reflects the human experience of trying to live up to expectations, of carrying burdens that we never asked for, or striving for perfection even when it's impossible. Mark Grayson's struggle is not just a superhero story. It's an exploration of what it means to navigate the tension between self-duty and morality. He embodies the challenge of balancing ambition and responsibility with personal life, of measuring worth against an impossible standard, and of facing the fear of becoming something that you never intended to be. And the longer that he carries all this pressure, the harder it becomes to tell if he's protecting humanity because he wants to, or because he's afraid of what it means if he ever stops. There's a strange kind of pressure that comes with being the one everyone expects to succeed. It's not just nervousness or wanting to do well, it's heavier than that. It's like carrying a weight on your shoulders that no one else can see. A constant push to prove yourself. For Izuku Midoriya, that weight started the moment All Might chose him as his successor. Even though no one else knew that he would carry the mantle of the symbol of peace, Deku felt the responsibility deep in his chest. From that day on, every action, every decision, and every step he took carried the pressure of living up to something much bigger than himself. On the surface, Midoriya seems like the classic underdog. Shy, careful, always analyzing. He takes notes, studies heroes, but underneath is a fear that he won't measure up. Not to the world, not to his friends, and not to All Might. He pushes himself constantly. Not because he's reckless, but because he feels that every failure could undo the trust placed in him. Every late-night training session, every exam at UA, and every fight with a villain is a chance to prove that he's worthy of one for all. And that pressure isn't just from himself. At UA, his classmates notice that he holds the most powerful quirk. Some of them see him as a benchmark. Some admire him, and some compete with him. Every time that Deku succeeds, it's quietly compared to everyone else, and every time that he fails, the stakes feel enormous. And when All Might finally retires and the villains grow stronger, the responsibility shifts even faster. Suddenly, Deku isn't just a student trying to learn, he's the new symbol of peace. The world expects him to protect people, and he expects himself to be perfect. Every villain he faces isn't just a fight, it's a test. He can't just defeat them, he has to save them, or he's failing the responsibility that All Might gave him. This becomes even more intense during his Vigilante arc, where he chooses to fight alone, not because anyone told him to, but because he believes that no one else should be put at risk. He convinces himself that protecting others means that he has to carry the burden alone. It's isolation built on the pressure of perfection, of the high expectations that he put onto himself. And the war arc only pushes this to its limits. Deku is supposed to stop Shigaraki and protect everyone around him. But he also believes that a real hero doesn't just defeat a villain, he saves them. He takes on responsibility beyond what's asked of him, holding himself accountable for victory and mercy. The weight of what society expects and what he expects of himself combine to push him harder than anything else. Every step forward is exhausting, and every mistake feels catastrophic. And what's cruel about this kind of pressure is that no matter how much he tries, it's never really enough. He can study, he can train, he can plan, but life doesn't bend to his will. His friends get hurt, the villains get stronger, and the chaos continues. And yet he keeps going, because stopping would feel like failing not only himself, but All Might and everyone who depends on him. He constantly asks himself, am I enough? Am I smart enough? Do I deserve this? Every victory is tinged with doubt, and every failure leaves him carrying guilt. His obsession with saving everyone leaves little room to accept mistakes or to rest. The very traits that make him a hero also make him fragile. He takes every setback to heart, sometimes punishing himself more than anyone else could. Yet in this relentless pushing, there's something inspiring. Deku's story works because it shows the human side of being a hero. He struggles, he doubts, he fails, and yet he keeps going. Every scar, every injury, and every moment of exhaustion shows the cost of trying to be enough in a world that demands more than anyone else could reasonably give. And the hardest part is that he never lets himself rest. He constantly measures himself against everyone else, against All Might, and against the impossible expectations he's placed on himself. But that's also what makes him real. Izuku Midoriya's journey is a story about carrying impossible responsibility and learning to keep going anyway. It's about the pressure of living up to someone else's legacy and the even heavier pressure of holding yourself to impossible standards. He doesn't become a hero by being perfect. He becomes a hero by refusing to stop, by striving to do better. His story isn't about perfection, it's about perseverance and learning to keep moving forward under a weight that would crush almost anyone else. The weight of living up to high expectations.